Welcome back to Rivals on the Pitch. You're here with Pat, your favorite rival of all. I know you guys missed me. Unfortunately, I am here with my other two pals, Alan, supporting Tottenham, and Randy with this Liverpool team. And we are going to dive into a very exciting match week. Very exciting match week. Match week 24 out of 38, where lots of games to go, but we've treaded much along the way, and the window just closed, so we have lots to discuss, and the FA Cup's coming up, so we'll see how you guys are feeling coming up to those. Ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's go. I'm excited.
I'm already in the pool, bro. We're swimming. We're waiting for you.
The water's fine?
Yeah, the water's fine. Ignore the color change.
Week 24.
Lots of big score lines this week. But how are you guys feeling so far? Match week 24 out of 38.
Well, when you're on the top, you're feeling fine.
You know how we're always like, oh, there's a lot of season left? We can't keep saying that anymore.
We have 14 games left, which seems like a lot. And
because it did feel a lot. Like when we got to week 14, I felt like we did have a lot. But
that's 42 points if you win every single game until the end of the season. 45 if you count Liverpool's game in hand. That's almost half of the points that it typically takes a team to win the league. So
you're saying we have a chance? Mathematically, we're still in it. All right.
Exactly. What do you mean by we?
Yeah, who's we? Is we in the room?
Don't worry about us. We're busy. We're too busy conducting business.
Getting rejected?
Sorry. No, we didn't get rejected.
All right, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, let's dive into the game. So we started off Saturday early. No, this was a 10 a.m. game, so not super early. 10 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Mountain time. We had Nottingham Forest at home taking on Brighton. And I'm sure we all thought Nottingham Forest was going to take the win, but we did not expect this type of thrashing. 7-0. Chris Wood hat trick.
It's funny because you go from losing 5-0 to scoring 7. It's like, it's kind of very polar opposite of what's going on. But yeah, it's a good showing from Forest. Chris Wood continuing his scoring streak.
Yeah, hat trick for him.
We have Kirkland Grealish scored too at the very end.
Oh, yeah.
The great value.
Yeah, great value.
Well,
Walmart brand, the Valley brand. Lewis Dunk on goal. That's how it started off 12 minutes in. Then followed by Gibbs White, who I thought was a better pickup to I'm sorry, who was the player that they Tottenham picked up from Forest? Johnson?
Brendan Johnson?
Yeah, I thought that Gibbs White was a better pickup, but
why? Because he was an Arsenal fan? Because he was an Arsenal player?
Every player's an Arsenal fan.
Oh yeah. That's why they actually win stuff when they leave Arsenal.
But yeah, then Chris Wood, with the penalty at the 69th minute. Nice. And then Neco Williams, 89th, and then Walmart, Jack Grealish at the 90th. But Brighton, nowhere to be seen.
It's just a bad showing for Brighton, honestly.
Yeah.
So
especially that last goal. That was a goalkeeper error. I don't know what he was thinking. And then they were lucky that Wish Grealish was able to capitalize and just put the nail in the coffin. But I mean, the nail in the coffin was already done in the first half.
Oh yeah, they were dug. Grass grew over the patch.
They would have done like a mercy roll. Just all right, we quit. Let's all play the Tottenham card and let's all get injured so we can stop the game.
Yeah, that's one of those games where even if there's like 3 minutes to be played at the 90th, the ref will just blow the whistle out of respect for.
I didn't even know would like the fans even leave the stadium, or was it at the end just all Forest?
I mean, they were 3-0 at the half, so I would think that they would stay because a comeback is
Yeah, possible in the cards.
Yeah, but when you're seeing it like that, I think you're that point. Well, let's go home. Let's start the weekend early.
So at this point, Nottingham Forest had taken back second place, and Brighton followed down to 10th place.
Brighton with back-to-back losses.
Yeah. It's
Good.
this is like what Alan was expecting or hoping would happen with all these teams in between Tottenham and the
Yeah.
top four. But unfortunately, it only happened with Brighton.
Yeah.
They both lose. I wanted Forest could win, but teams like Everton, no, not Everton, Bournemouth and Brighton, yeah, they all need to lose. Fulham, but
Then we had Bournemouth. This is the highlight game of the week. Bournemouth at home hosting Liverpool. Bournemouth coming up from the 5-0 win at Newcastle. Liverpool coming back from
another win, of course.
Another win? Okay.
Yeah, all we do is win.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's right. All right, keep saying it.
unless you play Forest.
We did.
Ooh.
So look at what Forest just did.
I don't know. We beat them.
What, lose to Bournemouth?
Who'd you lose to? Bournemouth beat Spurs, Arsenal. Who else? City. Should I keep going?
No, it's okay.
So yeah, Liverpool, Bournemouth had plenty of chances. The game looked pretty even as far as shots go, and they just couldn't put in the back of the net. They had a couple open, basically goals, and they just couldn't get it in.
Yeah, I think they hit the crossbar like 3 times, and then that one crossbar was directly to like Kluivert, and it was an open net for him, and he just hit it wide.
Yeah,
I mean, it was gonna. I mean, it wasn't. It was. They were down already at that point, but I think it would have been a consolation prize for them just to have a score 1 goal and then maybe give them a little bit of pep in their step to see if they to try to get an equalizer. But
yeah, they were saying that that's the kind of place where Evan Nelson would typically live, and that would be a clear tap in for him. And Kluivert has been on form.
Yeah,
had a hat trick the previous game, but it doesn't always work out. But yeah, 1 goal in, and it could be 89th minute, and you get a team that can rally back.
Yeah, your fans would be livid right then. They would be you feeling that energy, and it will give them a little more push. And anything could happen in that game. They could have probably tied it up, but instead he went for power instead of precision, and that's what happened.
You should have just gone for the penalty. I mean, that's learn from Pensala.
Oh, okay.
We did get what did you think of what did you guys see the call for the penalty shout on Gapco?
Like I said, I'll be straight up honest. I think he tripped himself. I think his foot hit the grass, and that's what made him fall. I honestly didn't see any contact. I mean, the commentators were saying there was maybe it was a little bit messy. It was a little tip or little clip of the heel, but I honestly didn't see it in the angle. Maybe there's another angle, but I didn't see it. And I honestly don't know how that ended up being a penalty, but they went VAR, checked it, and I don't know. I think we've all been in agreement with VAR, the ref's decision, and all that stuff, that it's been inconsistent, and some calls that should be right end up being wrong. And I just happen to think this call was a wrong call. Like I said in the group chat, I've said it before. Sometimes we get the right call, sometimes we get the wrong call. We'll take it. It's unfortunate, but I honestly didn't think that was a penalty.
It's weird because when you see a play obviously when you see a play and you could say, oh, that wasn't a penalty or was a penalty, then sometimes they show you a different angle and you're like, oh, okay, I see where the foul was, or I see where he touched them or impeded, or no, he clearly got the ball. When you see it from a different angle, I'm totally on board with VAR being that kind of policing over these red card, goal, or penalty situations. However, sometimes when you slow something down, it almost looks like you're looking to prove your point more so than just trying to make a call on the game, because something in slow motion could look so much different than something in full speed. And I also totally get why they would look at something slow motion. You know what I mean? Sometimes when you're looking at it offside call on a goal, sometimes you want to make sure that you get it right to the point where the ball leaves the player's foot and see if the scoring player was offside. But sometimes it almost feels like you're overdoing it, right? You're looking for a reason to prove the referee right.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to see if you could make another call.
And the longer it takes to get to a decision, they're basically they're not sure. If you're if you watch the video and you come to a decision quick, it's clear and cut. But the more time you see it, you're like overthinking it. You're trying to nitpick everything, and it's just I think that ends up being making most of the times the wrong decision.
What they should do is kind of like, and I think this is what they try to do, but it's kind of like in the NFL. If a call is made on the field, if they can't come to a conclusion or there's not enough evidence to overturn it, they just go with the call on the field. Like that's what it is, And like you said, stopping it and doing whatever, you make it. You look for these. You're trying to see where you can justify whatever, and that's not right either. And like you said, putting a still frame up, you don't get the whole picture, because you're just looking at one picture, so you don't get the what happened prior to that play. But you gotta admit though, sometimes us as fans, we do that. We'll hit it like, press pause and be like, look, it's a foul, So
yeah.
When it's against us, we're like, no, why are you doing it? Like it looks worse than it is. But when it's for us, we're like, look, you see this proving our point. So it's kind of hard because we as fans do the same thing. We try to prove it, that why it should have gone our way. But yeah, I think VR it's good to have, I think. But I definitely do think that they need to stop relying so heavily on it.
Yeah.
If the ref is going to make the call on the pitch and if you within X amount of seconds you can't make a decision, go with the ref. And that's that. And nobody can say, hey, VR is it's against us or VAR is this type of thing. It's just a call on the pitch, and it's the ref did it in real time. When he saw what he saw, he did it in real time. If the VAR can't do it within 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or whatever it may be, then boom, the ref call stands.
But that's why you also got the the assistant ref, the line ref. They're also your eyes as well. Talk among yourselves. But it ended up being a penalty. But I said it wasn't a penalty. What did you guys think on that?
I think it was so soft, but I still think it was. And Arsenal got, basically the same call and against us. And at the time, I didn't think it was a penalty either. But the rules state that if the player's behind the running man with the ball, and you're behind them, and you in any way impede him from continuing to running, then it is a foul. Especially in the box, and because Gapco had no one else in front of him except the goalkeeper. So I think just getting. Sometimes you got to think too as a player, like, oh well, I'm not going to touch him. I'm not going to pull on his shirt or push him in the back. But if I can just like run alongside so he trips, like that could also be intentional. You know what I mean? So I get why they have to be strict about it, and that's why it is like that. So I think there was a touch. I think it was too soft, but apparently, according to the rule book, it should be a penalty, and that's what they gave it. And I mean, at the end of the day, like I think Liverpool, even though without the penalty it would have been one goal, but I think they were still comfortable enough to take the win here. So I don't think it was super controversial at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't like a game-defining moment. Bournemouth couldn't even score one, so it's not like it was a game-deciding moment. So I don't think it was a foul. Personally, I think what a lot of players are doing now is once they are in that position you're speaking of, like, being in front of that defender, sometimes they'll intentionally slow down and kind of create that contact, and that's not fair either,
Yeah. That's true.
It's like in the NBA when you, in the NBA where they're shooting and you just drop
lean forward.
You lean forward to cause that contact,
create that contact,
which ends up being a foul. It's like that,
and
which I hate.
The NBA started. They actually addressed that, and you saw a significant amount of those plays. They reduced it a lot. Not that I don't think it's a problem in the Prem. Look, imagine it being a 1-1, and that's you get this penalty, and now you're up. You win the game 2-1. But like I said, I don't. It's one of those calls where it wasn't that bad to be like, man, the refs are trash. But
yeah. Anyways, moving on to Everton at home. David Moyes once again, and this time bringing down Ruud van Nistelrooy, who is apparently not very happy at Leicester City after not getting any new players as he was promised. But Everton coming back up, and are they scaring you, Alan?
No, they're not even our rivals. That's Liverpool's rivals.
To take over a little bit, seeing this performance, seeing it under David Moyes, I am sort of not. I'm a little concerned because we do have that game in hand, and it's against Everton away. Seeing what David Moyes has done, he has more wins than Sean Dyche had in his term this season. Already in the first 5 games, he already has more wins. And seeing the scoreline, it's a little a little worrisome for the Liverpool game. But I mean, David Moyes is doing one hell of a job at Everton.
No. You had a lot more fight in you last time. You had more.
Yeah,
more
because because it was what Everton was at. Everton couldn't score 4 goals.
That's true.
But still, we're gonna win. I'm just saying it's a little worrisome seeing that this Everton has made a big change with David Moyes.
Really
They're playing the long ball, and you saw it. Three of their goals were from the long ball, and but they're playing well. David Moyes with Everton, they go hand in hand, and just like Liverpool beating Everton, it goes hand in hand. That's what will happen. But
oh, love it. I mean, so yeah, they are 3 wins in a row. 3 wins in a row. That's 6 points. Sorry, 9 points out of the last 3 games.
I don't even know what that feels like.
It should be a good game that we have coming up. Yeah, good for Everton. Glad that they're climbing their way back up.
They didn't make us look like liars.
I'm curious to see how they're going to look with transfer window under David Moyes.
Then we had Ipswich at home hosting Southampton, and Southampton actually get a win. The champions of the basement.
I know that 9 points. They're almost at double digits. Almost. I think 14 more games left. We'll see.
So it seems like they're going to beat the record.
They might. They just might. But Ipswich, yeah. I mean, they were down 1 and they tied it up, but then they couldn't keep up with Southampton, who's the direct rival of Southampton in this relegation fight. So you find some fight amongst each other. Those are those 6-point games.
Yeah, but it's a bad showing for Ipswich. I thought they were going to pull it out, and sadly they didn't. Southampton's got a little fight on them, but I think it might be a little too bit late for that.
Who do you think comes in swooping for Liam Delap?
I've heard of Manchester United.
Interesting.
Even Chelsea as well, I believe.
Yeah.
I heard Tottenham too, but I don't think anymore. But we'll see.
We'll see. I mean,
Arsenal?
if they get relegated, they're going to try to pick them up at a cheaper price.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure Ipswich will be looking to sell and kind of make some funds before they start losing a lot of those funds, heading down to the championship.
Maybe a mid-table team, maybe like a Bournemouth or an Everton. I feel like it would be good at those teams. Maybe a Newcastle.
Why? What do you think Arsenal's going to get in?
Replace it. I heard Liverpool was going to be heavy on them in the summer, but we'll talk about this.
Yeah, that's a summer window. We're just finished winter.
Well, no,
of course, when you're going to be champions of this season, everybody wants to join.
Oh, now that we're leaving.
Oh, that's true. Nobody wants to stay.
What do you mean?
Why would anyone want to come?
The season's not over yet. You guys are getting way ahead of yourselves.
Okay.
Everybody wants to come to us. Oh, well, Mo Salah doesn't. Neither does Van Dijk. So we'll see.
Where's the Mendy?
Trent Alexander.
Oh, don't worry about it. Who wants to go to you? They reject. Oh no, Spurs is calling. No, thanks. Put them on hold. You got him in the last minute.
All I'm saying is I'm ready to see what pool Arne Slot has.
Yeah, I want to see what his team looks like. I want to see what his team looks like.
You have a big team name. You have a lot of money. You're in a perfect opportunity. I'm very curious to see what his transfer is going to look like, what team he puts together, because right now he's riding off of Klopp's team. And
I'm excited to see what happens as well. Right now, he's got to enjoy the present, enjoy this. We're on a high, and let's hopefully it keeps going. But
all right, Newcastle
and Fulham.
And Fulham.
Fuck it. I thought St. James Park was the fortress.
Yeah, what happened?
It isn't.
Isaac with the crossbar.
Newcastle
challenge.
is Old Castle now.
I'm starting to see some foreshadowing in their FA Cup game. The Elite Carabao Cup coming in.
Doubt it.
You were so down on it. What?
I don't know.
Yeah, you basically said, "Oh, we're like done. I don't think we're going to be able to." Now you're
Cue
you're so
the sad music.
topsy-turvy.
Cue the sad music.
So Newcastle, another loss, and to Fulham, who's they're a decent opponent, but didn't expect this. Expected them to put a little bit more of a fight. Fulham though holding strong in that midfield, that mid table, currently 9th, 1 point below Aston Villa, who's currently 8th. So anything can happen. Then we had Wolves at home beating Aston Villa 2-0.
Like you said, anything can happen. Wolves, woo!
That's what I needed.
And what everybody was chasing after, Cunha, with that nice goal, he had it all by himself. He slowed it down a bit, controlled it, took his time, set himself up, and boom, he scored it on his own. It was nice.
And did you notice he took off his shirt because he was like, "I'm not staying here," so he took off his shirt.
Oh,
he said, "I'm going
he
to
also
Arsenal."
took his shirt off last week, and he was like, "I love you." Did a hard thing with his hands. I love Wolves.
He's so wishy-washy. He's like, no, we're bottom 3. I'm not going to sign. Boom, you beat Villa and you're further away from the bottom 3. You're like, you know what? Maybe I do want to sign.
I know. He signed it before he hit the showers.
But you did see his contract now is he signed it, but he has a release clause for this summer. So I'm guessing that release clause is just in case they get relegated, so you can get bought out.
Right.
But whatever. He signed his contract, but we'll see what happens with Wolves if they stay, which hopefully they do.
Yep, good team. Our favorite team.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. After I wear glasses, and when he took that guy's glasses and crushed them, I felt that. And it's been bothering me ever since.
Oh, during that game, I forget who it was against, but
Ipswich?
yeah,
No.
yeah. I think it was Ipswich.
The Ipswich staff, he grabbed his glasses, and I was like, because I hate when someone grabs my glasses off my face. And he did that. Like,
you felt bullied?
Yeah, I was like, give my glasses.
But yeah, but you still take them though?
Oh yeah, I'll forgive him.
Okay.
He doesn't even need to apologize. I'll just be like, "Oh, apology accepted. You don't have to say anything."
Moving on to Sunday, we had Brentford at home hosting Tottenham Hotspur, and miracle.
We didn't score 3. Jeez.
The skies opened up.
I think Brentford felt bad for them, so it's like, well, since you can't score, we'll score one for you. Make it interesting.
Nah.
It was a little dark arts from Arsenal. It was on a corner kick. Off the back. Bah.
Yeah, own goal.
You gotta win like you gotta win.
Own goal started off in the 29th minute, and then Sarr closes it out 87th minute. Were you nervous at all when the goals weren't coming in by starting to hit the 80th minute?
Not really. I thought if Brentford was going to be more of a threat, I figured we would have felt that earlier in the game. But by this time, I felt like we were just going to close out the game at 1-0. Yeah, this game was what's his name? Jamie
Carragher?
Yeah, Jamie
From
Carragher.
Liverpool?
Before he's like, I'll be surprised if Tottenham aren't down 3-0. And people were like, "Whoa, that's a bold statement." But in reality, no, it really wasn't. The way we've been conceding goals, we drop points to Everton, Leicester, and out of these last 3 matches, Brentford was the one I thought we were going to lose. You have Mbuemo and Yiza.
Yeah.
Did I say his name right? Where did that come out?
Wisa.
Yeah, Mbuemo and Wisa, who are what, double digits in goals, right?
Yeah,
I think they're like a few, spots. They're top 10 in scorers, I think. But anyway,
they're the only striking duo, I think, with double digits so far.
Yeah, and so I was like, man, this is gonna be a tough one. And I was like, honestly, I didn't think if we didn't win the last 2, this one definitely I didn't think we were gonna win. But
I felt the same.
Spence. We got Jet Spence back, and he put Mbuemo in his place. Bottom line, like he just shorted him out. They put in a few crosses that I thought, it's like our weak point. You put a cross in, you put a corner in, and that's where we're conceding a lot of these goals. But we actually did a really good defending those. And after a while, I just felt more comfortable with it. I didn't feel like Brentford was maybe they were just having an off day, but honestly, I didn't feel. I thought we were gonna get that scrappy win. You know how we always say like, you win no matter what. Good teams win no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, ugly wins. I was like, man, this is gonna be our ugly win, and we usually don't get those ugly wins. We're doing bad. We get that, the loss. But we scraped by, and then Sarr got that last goal. That last goal it was good to see because it was a team effort, especially when Son
I
got
love that
ball.
pass.
Yeah,
That pass
it was just
nice.
perfectly placed, and then Sarr with that, he just hit it just right, right between the keeper's legs, and it went in, and it was such a sense of relief. I didn't even celebrate. I was just like, finally,
You can
here
breathe.
we go.
Yeah, it just
Three
sighed.
freaking points. It was good to see. Winning in the Europa League, we beat Elsbro or some Swedish team. We had all these young kids scoring, and then we got the win there, so we don't have to play we qualify automatically. We don't have to play the playoffs, and then we come here, we get our 3 points, and then the transfer window. So it's been a good week. We have Man United next, so we'll see. And, well, we have Liverpool midweek, and then Villa, and then Man United. So we have a tough stretch of games.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously you lost to Everton, and I thought, okay, well, it's the David Moyes effect. Then you lost to Leicester, and I thought, oh, this is not good. And then when you were coming up to Brentford, I said, there's no way they're going to beat Brentford.
I agree.
But that you did it, and good thing you did, because if you hadn't won that game, you would be sitting with 24 points, and you would be in 16th place below Everton, with only Wolves sitting in between you in relegation. I think that's when it would have been. I think that's when everybody considered, okay, now it's a relegation, not battle, but the battle to stay. Because I don't think you would have fallen to 18, 19, 20. But that's a scary place to be in right there.
It is, and it's not just because it. We could imagine just staying in that 17th, 16th position. Clear of the bottom three, but that's still not a good position to be in. Like, you're not setting yourself up for any good news. You're going to have turmoil in the team. Players are going to be turning on each other or turning on the coach, on the manager, the organization. Who knows? They'll probably let the manager go and do a panic buy, or it's just, you never know what's going to happen when you're in that. When I don't want to say like be conceited, but like Spurs are we're not supposed to be, or what we're trying to do is not be in that bottom of the table, right? Not even mid-table. We're like, what we are fighting for is to be top of the table, right? The big six, quote unquote. But when you start sinking so low, you're spending way too much money to be done there. You're the stadium's too big to be done there. The players you're trying to attract are too big to be down there, So it's bad news. It still is bad news. We're still way further down the table than we should be, but we'll see. We'll see what we do in these domestic cups, and hopefully we could put some games together where mid-table, deserve. I don't think we deserve to be any higher than mid-table, but hopefully we can at least get there.
I mean, we did say there's 42 points still up for grabs. I think Southampton are the only team mathematically not able to win the Premier League. I think with Liverpool's last 2 wins and their loss within the last 2, they're officially unable to win the Premier League. Ipswich could still technically do it if but so anything could happen. From 14th, you could essentially still get maybe 6th or 7th from here.
Could he get his second that he said he was going to get this season?
Yeah,
you never know.
22nd.
You never know.
Second in the championship.
A second opinion.
But the good thing is, I think a lot of your players are coming back though sooner than later though.
Yeah,
which is somewhat good.
I think Ange put out about like a 10-day time frame for most. Vicario, Odegaard, Madison, Brendan Johnson. I don't know about Van der Ven or Romero. I think Romero was pushed back further. Richarlison, I think, is back.
You got players coming back?
Yeah.
Oh, it must be nice. What's that like?
Oh, how's it nice having your starting center backs the whole season?
No, they've both been out, but
Oh,
we've had it
missed
for
one.
most of the season.
Yeah,
But it's showing. We
yeah.
got one of the best defenses in the league so far. Least goal conceded. So that shows that we haven't lacked too much in the central defender field. And just like you, I mean, you guys have lacked your defense, but look at your goal difference. You know what I mean? You've had options. I know everyone's also for you been injured on that front three, but you've had options. You know, especially with the style of play that you guys do
I don't
play.
hear. I don't.
Yeah, which is basically put anybody in somewhere. Just plug them in. Just plug them in.
But yeah, good on Spurs.
Thank you for the recognition.
It's the last time you'll hear it. Then we had Manchester United at home take a 2-0 loss to Crystal Palace. Is it getting harder and harder for
Ruben Amorim?
Yeah,
it is.
And it's not going to get any better, especially after this transfer window. It's hard to be a United fan. It's hard to be a Spurs fan right now, but United, with being
They've
Manchester United,
more.
they are definitely. I don't know if they had a few rough seasons, but it's not just the placement on the table. That's it's the way they're losing the matches, who they're losing to, the players. I know they're not happy with the quality of players they have. After this transfer window, I think they put that their attacking front four is like Xerxes, Hoyland.
Used to be Marcus Rashford, but he ain't there no more.
Garnacho and someone, and I forgot what the other guy was, but it's Manchester United, and you look at that squad, and you're like, who really stands out?
The only one that stands out is Bruno, but that's basically it.
And we've given him criticism.
You had Lisandro Martinez. He was, he had his moments, but now he was injured, so he's out. But
think Ruben regrets this? Or
I don't think
he forecast it?
I think he didn't. I don't think he realized how hard this would be, because looking from the outside in, like we all judge all on this podcast, and then us on like all the people online. Everybody judged Ten Hag on the job that he was doing, but I don't think anyone assumed that it was easy. But everyone assumed that he was making the same mistakes over and over. But looking from the outside in, you think like this is. Some of the things that you would see, you say that's so obvious. You know what I mean? Like when Casemiro was getting eaten alive and he was still starting every single game. Like you were thinking, why are you doing this? Playing him in the center back when he clearly doesn't have the speed or the awareness to follow like the offside trap. Like some of the stuff would be obvious to us, and we would judge him. So maybe he thought, hey, this is not as hard as it looks. I'm sure he thought it would be tough, but he probably underestimated how much work he really have to put in.
And with Hag, he went for players that he's familiar with because he knows what there are. It's a safer bet when you go with someone you're familiar with, which is why he went to Ajax instead of trying to get someone that he's not really sure of, that you have to rely on your scouting to. Sometimes the scouts are wrong, but it just all worked out bad. The people he trusted from Ajax, like Anthony and Martinez, they let him down. And now it's
Martinez. Oh, it's a shame. Unfortunately, he's now
he's
injured. But he's actually been one of the standout players from Amorim's side.
Yeah, he was on a good streak. He was scoring, and then sadly he got injured. Now who you got to get? Harry Maguire back in, but it just shows back then it was just the fact that they were going to the youths more often. Diallo was playing. I don't think he trusted his veterans. Marcus Rashford, he's left out. It's just showing you that, like you said, I don't think he has faith in his squad. He's not really happy with the players he has, and now he's got to hope he can sell them. And we'll see what happens, and if he can get the players that he wants. But like Alan said, who wants to go to a team that is, bottom of the table, on the bottom half? It's not, you're Manchester United, but you haven't been Manchester United for years now, ever since Fergie left. It hasn't been the same. So I think that allure, the name, doesn't attract as much.
Oh, yeah. And they're going to have a yard sale come this summer. I don't expect any less than 5 players to leave.
I'm expecting a new goalkeeper. That's for sure.
I feel
think
like
so,
they're
yeah.
financially. I think they're gonna be trying to maximize their profits.
Send them off to Saudi.
If they weren't willing to pay a $5 million loan fee for a player,
Oh yeah,
does
they're
that
gonna
mean-
Yeah.
they're gonna try to nickel and dime everybody.
yeah.
But who wants these players? Who knows? But I mean, a lot of players that have left have been doing great at different teams.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. I'm kind of happy that they're struggling a little bit, just because
Yep.
all these Manchester United. I mean, I talk about Tottenham struggling. I almost feel like that they've suffered enough. But Manchester United, they keep chatting it up like they're the best team in the world, and when they win, and I saw people comparing Amad Diallo to Saka, like, oh, like he's got a hat trick before Saka. Like, why are you guys pretending like he was like some academy product? They paid like 37 million from Atalanta. Like, he's not, just because he's like 22 doesn't mean he's an academy player just because you recently started playing him. Like, that's how a 40 million player should play.
Exactly.
And then they were saying that Lenny Yoro is basically the new Saliba and stuff like that. All right, well, have fun with that.
That's the thing. You're buying into potential, but it's up to them to actually demonstrate
Bring it
it.
up.
I mean, yeah, bring it in, make it real.
You remember that video you sent about Spurs fans being entitled, and the guy's like, "No, I think Arsenal fans are entitled."
Yeah.
I think Manchester United fans are probably the most entitled.
I
And
mean-
I feel like
But that was because of the Fergie years.
Right,
That's
but
what I was
how
going to
long-
say.
How long was that?
You can't.
How
You
long
have
ago was
nothing
that?
to be happy. You have nothing to be entitled.
But that's what I'm going to say. I mean, even now, like with the whole, I'm sure you guys have seen the celebration police is out again because Arsenal was a little showy against Manchester City. So City has been shoving in Arsenal fans' faces all these, like, the last 4 titles that they won, as if the Premier League started 7 years ago. Like,
Right.
so I feel the same way with Manchester United. I mean, before Fergie, Liverpool was the best team in England. It wasn't Manchester United, but they act like they've been the glory since like the 1800s. You know what I mean?
Right. And like right now, your name has a lot of pull. You have a lot of prestige in your club. You have a lot going for you, and you're not getting anything done yet. You still want to run around, saying we're united. You can't just hold on. Like, eventually you're gonna have to give in and be like, shit. I admit it. Spurs we're not the greatest. We haven't been the greatest the last few years. Like, we had a little run, a few years ago, but we've been on this little rebuild, and United, it's like they're blind to it. Like, no, we're not in a rebuild.
It's like, they're too good to admit it. I mean, I admitted it too when we were dealing with Socrates and Mustafi and all these players during the COVID days. My God, like, I have nightmares about it. We were absolutely terrible. We were lucky that we were only finished 8th twice in a row. That team deserved to be probably a little further down on the table, but we ended up bringing players like Aubameyang, which, like, we were able to save seasons, like with the FA Cup that Arteta was able to pick up. Like, but we were terrible, and I'll admit it. And I used to say it back then. I mean, I don't even know how I continued watching because it's painful.
But that's the thing But that's the thing. Everyone is gonna, you ain't gonna be number one all the time. Liverpool had it for the majority of the season, but I mean, majority of the history. And then, what happened? Manchester United went on that stretch. Now it's Manchester City. Everyone has rises and falls. That's just part of the game. And you have to, if you support them when on their highs, you got to support them on their lows. It just sucks. Everyone, like I said, we've all dealt with it. Liverpool, we were close, but then the Gerrard slip. You guys were close. Arsenal were close, but even Spurs had a chance. When you guys went to the Champions League final, we all have moments, but you have to understand. Just as quick as you can rise to the top, you can go crashing down. And right now, Manchester United isn't used to this type of situation. They're so used to being on the high.
Why not?
On the top, and now
when was the last time they were on top, though?
Yeah, you're a mid-table team.
Yeah,
accept it.
Yeah.
Austin Villa has surpassed you. Chelsea have surpassed you.
I was gonna say you got to start doing a new top 6. The top 6 ain't no longer what it used to be.
They're closer to Newcastle than they are to getting back to top 4. I feel like they're a team that lives outside of the top 4, near it, but not right outside it.
That's where they've been, but they've been getting. They praise them like we deserve to be considered, a title contender every year in and year out.
Just because of your history doesn't mean shit. That's done. Once a new season starts, everyone's starting from scratch again, and
it's like the meme where the what's his name has a noose around his neck, and he was like, first time.
Oh, they're trying to help him, but he said, "Put it on his
first time," and it's like, it's like Spurs talking to the United first time.
It's like Forest. We all thought they were going to get relegated because they were so close to getting relegated last season. They just survived by like a point or something, and now look at where they are now. This is what happens. It's just part of the game. Manchester United, they need to wake up. They're no longer.
Yep.
It's no longer Fergie. You had Mourinho, it didn't work out.
I will say though,
boys didn't work out. It's just this is
their
life.
window of like what's it called? What do I want to call it? Like when they enter the transfer window and hey, come to United because we're United. What their pool, I guess, the Manchester United pool, like that window of that pool is getting smaller and smaller. I think teams are players.
Gravity.
Yeah, they don't have that same amount of like power to kind of convince. And I'm not just saying it because of this recent window, but it goes to show that it can happen. Like
it's been too long.
Teams are, you see the memes with the stadium falling apart, with the coaches just looking like they're in disarray.
And even like rats around and stuff like that.
No, that's Bruno.
We don't talk about Bruno. And then, so it's like, man, you're not as attractive as you used to be, And it's that window's getting smaller and smaller, but I don't really care. They had their glory.
Yeah.
Whatever. Let it be.
Yeah. It just sucks that Manchester is blue now. That's it. I just hate it. I mean, I just hate Manchester in general, but fuck it.
It's like the cheese of the NFL.
It was like the Patriots a couple years ago.
Yeah. You're just like, whatever. All right, keep count, Randy.
Speaking of whatever.
Speaking of your least favorite team, we did you a little favor.
Both.
And Man City.
Arsenal at home hosting Manchester City, a game that's becoming hotter and hotter by the match, by the season, and lots of good like banter, give and take here. It was fun to watch. I mean, obviously we won and we basically ripped them a new one.
That's why it was fun to watch.
Well, yeah, but no, it was fun to watch. I would assume for the neutral with everything that was going on and within the game, all the little rivalries, the little fights and little tugs and stuff like that. I can only assume that it was probably fun to watch. But did you guys get to watch this game?
Yeah, I actually did watch it.
I watched some of it.
I was texting you during it when Holland scored. I mean, that was after Gabriel said, was talking to Holland about, rubbing it about like, guys, stay humble, right? And then this is what happens. Like, you shouldn't speak too soon.
Wait,
after that, it was fucking 4 after, but still.
Yeah, he was. I think he was
nice
laughing in
payback.
his face because it was we scored within the second minute. Listen, I'm not gonna say that we're like the greatest team in the world because we beat this city, but at the same time, I'm not gonna say just like you guys, got your roses for defeating City at the Etihad, at home, whatever. Like, we can't keep giving this City team excuses. Like, they're not a bad team. They almost have their entire squad minus obviously one of their best players. But who of us, maybe not Liverpool, but who of us haven't played with our best players so far, right? I think this is down to maybe a little. They got a little too comfortable. Maybe people started. Pep has been found out. Like, people are able to play against them. They're able to rattle them. And like I said, I think we blew them out of the water. I don't think they expected this kind of result. So I'm very happy about it. However, like I said, I'm not going to feel pity. I'm not going to say, oh, well, you beat the worst city. Well, why is it the worst city? Like, you know what I mean? It's not like money has been an issue. It's not like transfer like that, like pull.
But
as you guys mentioned.
when Spurs or Liverpool beat Man City, that's when it's the worst Man City for you.
Right?
Well, no, I'm just saying. Like,
exactly.
No, I mean,
you beat the worst Man City.
No, because I said,
I'm just kidding. But
of course,
I understand.
As a little banter, but like, I mean, I did say like, Spurs have always beat City, so they have that on. Then at the same time, I
Yeah,
said
it's
you
not
guys
new
didn't
to
have
us.
your center back, so I expected Spurs to beat them, but you guys basically also destroyed them. You know what I mean? You guys put a couple past them, and I gave you credit. I thought like a 2-0 win would have been something.
4-0, so it's the same.
Oh yeah, exactly. So I just don't think that this team deserves any pity for what they're going through. You know what I mean?
You don't
No,
get
especially
paid when you have
'cause
when you have money to spend.
Exactly.
They've been on a
don't
good
get that.
run too. It's not like they've been on a losing streak. They're still sit 5th or 4th. You know, they beat Chelsea. They just beat who did they beat in the Champions League? Or they did not. Well, anyways,
Oh no,
it's not like they were doing bad. You know,
lost, right?
the last of their 5 results, they've had 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, and so it's not like they're still top 4, top 5. So yeah,
Then they got a bunch new signings in, so we'll see what happens with that.
So
Yep.
you have to say like, oh, you beat a crippling or a wounded cities. No, you still have Erling Haaland on your team. You still have
Guardiola, who's been informed, he scored the
Phil
last.
Foden, who was just a
Exactly.
big wonder kid.
So
And
John
that's the thing,
Stones, who
too.
they paid like record, I think it was the record defender, signed for back in the day. I think he came over from Everton, didn't he?
Yeah, he was from Everton.
Yeah. And honestly, with all our teams beating them, I don't think it was ever fair to be like, oh, it's the Man City is this, because they suffered 1 injury.
Exactly.
And now their team fell apart. Okay, look at his other teams. Look at Bournemouth. Spurs, Arsenal. We've all have our injuries, and you have 1 injury, and now your whole. I can't say they fall apart because I just said they're in 4th or 5th place, but the commentators, anybody can't be like, well, it's a wounded City. Nah,
Yeah, I mean last
it's a
season
mismanaged season.
yeah, I mean last season they lost Ederson in goal, and then they put in Ortega, and everyone's like, oh, he didn't miss a beat. They're like, this guy could be starting. And now they're saying, oh, well, he played Ortega, so that was a bad choice.
Yep.
Why? Well, last season you said he could be a starting goalkeeper, and he's surely going to leave because he's too good to be on the bench for City. But now all of a sudden, oh, well, he's not our best keeper. Well, that was his choice to do. You know what I mean? It was his choice to put Bernardo Silva as a holding midfielder. That was his choice. You know what I mean? I'm not, like I said, there's no pity for this team. I'm not going to say but I just think this was a good revenge considering what happened in the return in the first leg of this league match, with us having that weird red card while we were up. I think had we played that game 11v11, we would have won that game. And that's when things started to fall through, because if you guys remember, Rodri played that game and he got injured in the first half. I think it was like the 30-something minute. By that point, I think we were already 2-1 up. And then right before the whistle, Trossard gets that red card, and then all of a sudden we're having to defend. We were already down. I think Saka came off injured that game, and Odegaard was missing because he had already been injured. So we kind of reverted to our best attribute, which was defense, and they scored a last minute equalizer, and then they were celebrating a draw against Arsenal in your own stadium. And then they're telling us to stay humble when if you're the current champions. If you're beating an Arsenal team that you say, hasn't won something in 20 years, then why can't you beat us? You know what I mean? So that's what this win was about. It was really more about, because City will say, oh, well, you haven't won anything. Like, who are you to like celebrate or show off like this? Well, we're just putting respect back on our name. You know what I mean? Because I feel like for Haaland to stay humble and smack Arteta in the back, like that's disrespectful. You know what I mean? That's a manager. If you're gonna go player on player, like whatever.
If someone would have done that to Pep, I bet he would have been running real quick.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Like imagine like Richarlison went up to Pep and started like rubbing his head and be like, you know what I mean? Like you would have been like, what the heck is this? Like I just thought it was disrespectful to that. If you're gonna go player on player, whatever, you guys battle it out on the field. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But
it's like a different echelon. Like
yeah. So yeah, I think
it's almost like this whole city put them they thought they were on a different pedestal, and they're like, we can do whatever we want. We run the league. We're gonna win it again. But
exactly,
nope,
like I said,
not this year, buddy.
Just celebration, please. Like you're allowed to celebrate any win you want. Like let me tell you, Liverpool's probably going to win the league, right? But let's say Liverpool goes to Everton and Everton win. Are they not allowed to celebrate that win just because they're not anywhere near the title?
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
rivals.
exactly.
It's an important thing. Yeah, you can.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, let's say, I mean, last season Tottenham were celebrating a loss to City just because that it meant that Arsenal basically had no chance at the title. Like, it's all based on context. That's all I want to say. It's all based on context. In no way do we think that we have been better than City all this time just because we scored 5 goals on them. But it was basically just like a statement match, and that's it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Arsenal's still lacking a lot, and we did not do anything in the window. So my mindset stands where it was in my last episode, where we're basically, I think, if we get top 4 right now, I think that's probably the best we could do, and that's sad to say, but just being realistic.
Ooh, so you don't think you're only 6 points behind?
I mean, I think it's all
Liverpool have a
possible.
game in hand.
It's all possible, but I think it's still in Liverpool's hands. Like, if we somehow like win this league, or if somebody else wins the league and Liverpool doesn't win it, that's gonna be like a huge like bottling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're, like I said, they haven't suffered any long term or crucial injuries. I think they have suffered injuries, but they've been able to manage. So they've shown what they can do with that. They've been a consistent team throughout. What do you guys have? Only have one loss so far, maybe 3 draws.
I think it was like 5 draws, and the only loss was to Forest, which was back in September.
Exactly, and with 2/3 of the way through. So unless some huge crisis happens, or they lose a couple in a row, like Arsenal also still have to win every single game.
They do have to play us again.
Yeah, and they have to play us too, and they have to go to Everton now, and anything could happen. But I still think it's in Liverpool's hands, and even if Liverpool lose 3 games, I don't think it's realistic for me to say that Arsenal won't lose any games from now until the end of the season to catch up.
Yeah, that's true. Especially since we're on this transfer talk, we can just dive right into that, right?
Yeah,
I'm surprised Arsenal didn't try to go for it, or maybe they did. I'm not saying they did. We don't know what happened behind the scenes, right? Even just a loan, even just someone for 6 months, for the last 5-6 months, finish off the season, just a loan, a Premier League proven player or someone. I'm surprised no one was brought in. What do you?
But the thing too is, I mean, there was no like confirmed rumors. We only started getting like real rumors at the very end of the window, which is like, I'm sorry, way too late, because at that point it's the negotiating is so much more time consuming and a little more pressure, because look, you only got a couple days, so if you want them, you got to pay this. If you had done it earlier in the window, you have a little more negotiating time, to get the kinks and everything done. But not only that and everything like that, it's just like, really, why you wait for the last minute? Why?
From what Arteta mentioned is that they had basically their targets that they wanted to get, and if it wasn't going to be those targets, they weren't going to spend the money. And apparently that's what happened. I think they went in for Watkins. We offered, I think, 45, and Villa said no, and that you could do something at 60. And apparently Arsenal was basically said, we're not paying 60 for a 29-year-old who's now, I think, he had a little bit of a slope right now. And at the time, like I said, they were already losing Duran, but Duran has never been an Arsenal target. So everyone was like, oh, well, you could have gotten. Well, we weren't going to pay 77 million for a 21-year-old who only plays on the bench for Villa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think we tried for, what's his name? He just signed for AC Milan.
João Felix?
No.
Or Jimenez?
Nope. One more. He played for Atletico. He played for Madrid. He played for Chelsea. Morata.
Yeah.
No, Morata?
Yeah.
He went to Galatasaray.
Oh, yeah. So apparently we went in for him. So I think we were looking at options, but from Arteta's press, he said that we only want the right kind of players, and if they're not there, we're not going to splash this huge cash for a player that's not exactly what we're looking for. So I think that there were options, but it just didn't work out. So they weren't going to spend. If they weren't going to spend, they were looking to spend, I think, like 45 on a decent player that could help us this season and next season. I think that could have been Ollie Watkins, but like I said, they wanted 60, and I think for 60, they were probably thinking we can get a better player in the summer. So, like I
But
said,
you don't know what's going
So
to happen
what-
next
what,
season.
um,
You're not going to be maybe in second place because Manchester
Yeah.
City is in a better position now with these So it's like fucking risk it. You're
Even
a couple
alone.
games away, like you said. Liverpool have to falter, but it could happen. This might be you get a signing. It could rejuvenate the team again. Like, oh yeah, we finally got what we needed, a striker. Let's go
Or
for
even-
it. All guns blazing.
maybe not even just in the league. What about Champions League?
no,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the thing that
I
eludes
agree.
you. It's just
I agree.
So I was
I think we should have done something, and it could have been earlier. But like I said, I think they
That's-
just had their specific targets, and they weren't
I think
available.
that makes it very difficult when you have your specific targets, right?
Oh yeah,
And you start doing
yeah.
deals and deals and deals, and time passes by. Because I know we had a few rejections, and some of the rejections we had was because we came too late in the window to be like, hey, we'll take we want your center back, and it's like, well, it's too late. We can't replace him because we don't have enough time
Yeah.
to turn around, scout someone, replace him. Otherwise, I think some teams would have gotten rid of some of their players. Not rid of, but they would have been, interested in a deal. But when you wait too late in the window, teams are like, okay, we're done with business. And if someone comes knocking, hey, we want your player. Well, it's like, well, we don't have time to turn around, restructure what we have, to bring in a player that, we're not just going to bring anybody just because you want our center back. We obviously want to turn around and find a good match. But so I know we had a few rejections because it was too late in the window. And I think we're too busy going after certain targets that it cost us. And
Yeah.
there's more to the window than just saying, hey, I'm coming after you, sign for us, and to me, it's actually really interesting. I think the transfer windows are probably the most fun part of the season for me. I don't know why. I think it's the whole business and
I mean,
how they do all that.
I prefer the summer ones because it feels like musical
Right,
chairs,
yeah,
right? All the players, there's a pool of players that are all leaving all their clubs, and then you're just waiting to see where they land.
Yeah. You see the rumors and you start looking into their stats and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
But I will say this for Arsenal, and then we can move on to the other teams. I think if this is true, if they're looking for the right type of player and they're not looking to spend basically big money on a player that they could be spending half the money on, I really hope that means that this summer they're going to be serious about getting real upgrades to the team, because I have to hold the team accountable. Like you guys say, like there has to be something to be done. They couldn't do it now. I'll accept it as long as in the summer that means you're going to spend all that cash that you didn't spend in the winter, that you didn't spend last summer. I hope that we get a big name. Arteta, I know you're listening. Get it done.
We'll see. I mean,
We'll see, man. A lot of talk
at this point, who do you? Well, I guess when we get closer to the summer, we can talk about that. But yeah, I mean, shoot, some players could have just signed, and who knows, they could be walking in the summer. It's not like it hasn't happened before.
Yeah. All right, now we can move to Tottenham's 10 signing. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Tell.
Oh, Tell. Yeah. We came out with 3 players. One we did really early in, we signed our goalkeeper real early in the season or in the window. So I feel like he doesn't feel like a winner transfer. I feel like he's just been on the team.
He's been there for a while already. It feels like he's been there for a long.
Was it the goalkeeper?
Kinsley,
okay.
remember?
Kinski,
we signed him the first week of the first day of the window, I think, the first or second. But yeah, he came in. He's actually doing really well. It's good to have him. I think he's gonna be some healthy competition for Vicario. Raju Dragosin just got injured. I think he has a torn ACL, so he'll be out for the rest of the season. So luckily we signed. It was a struggle. It felt like we were going for every available center back. We ended up with Kevin Danzo from Lens. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know the guy, but from everything I've been reading and the videos, it seems like he's going to be a good fit. We said the same thing about Jackson, but he wasn't really the best fit for us.
But it was also his first season, right? I believe it's
his second, but he didn't play much his first season. He actually came with us last January, so it's this. I guess he's been with us for 12 months. So he still has time, and he's young. He's only like 22 or 23.
Oh, we probably went to school together.
Oh yeah.
Well, you went to school in Romania or whatever it is, where he's from.
Yeah, when he was pretending. And then this guy, he's in the center back. He seems aggressive. I hope he fits in. From what I heard, he was one of the better defenders in the French league, like Ligue 1. And then we got the whole roller coaster with Matthias Tell. At first, he rejected us. He was staying at Bayern, and then Man United were after him, and they're getting ready to sign. And he turns around, and he says, "No, I want to go to Tottenham." And then it was just a straight loan. By the time this contract was signed, it was negotiated that there was an option to buy, and that option consisted of a 6-year contract. I don't know who talked to him. I don't know if we kidnapped him. I don't know who threatened him or what happened, but kind of glad
he actually
to
got
see
to talk with Ange. I thought Ange was actually able to talk to him and talk to him about the project and everything like that, and eventually got him convinced.
That's apparently what was.
We actually have the recorded call from that meeting.
It was just mate the whole time. Mate.
Listen,
come on, mate.
Listen, mate.
I need you, mate. Please, mate.
You want to score goals? And people are mad that they're like, "Well, he didn't want to come to us. I don't want him on my team." And I was like, even if he's coming for 6 months, it's fresh legs. I don't care if
it's a body. It's a warm body.
He's only going to use us to get game time.
A fresh body that's not injured.
Use us. Use us like you're. I don't want to say the word, but yeah, like come here, get some playtime, score some goals, help us out in the cups, help us out in the league, and then you go on your way. But now there's an option to buy, and he agreed to it, so maybe we have a chance. And now, Levy, Ange, do your thing. If you're gonna spend that much money on this kid, like, see what he's worth now, so that maybe you don't exercise that option. Because it's a lot of money for a 19-year-old who hasn't really had much time. He plays for Bayern. You can't say too many 19-year-old kids play for Bayern and get game time. But he's one of those, so he might be worth the money. But take this time to find out. Give him the game time. Be realistic. I don't know. It's. I want to say right now, it feels good to get a body in, but at the end of the day, if come summertime and he hasn't produced, and we give him 70 million, or we give Bayern 70 million, it might be a little painful. But apparently, it's the money that they owe us from Kane, so it won't even. So it's not like we're even coming out of pocket. It's more like we're even,
All right, we'll see what United missed out on.
Yeah, they're mad. They're real mad. They're like, why would you go to a bottom of the league table? It's like, buddy, you're right next to us.
Yeah, but we're United. We're United. We always win silverware.
You win.
They're like, well, now you're not gonna win any trophies. Okay, dude. Okay, 13th place United. We're 14th.
Liverpool.
Nothing. We've been quiet. But the thing is, I think he's happy with the team. I'm happy with what we have. Like you guys mentioned, we don't have an injury crisis. All our players are healthy. I think just Jota and Joe Gomez have been out, but we've had everyone else healthy, and whoever's been out, we've been able to cover with our own bench. But you guys mentioned it, and even Arne Slot mentioned it. This summer is where we're gonna go spend. So I think he's gonna ride it out with what we have, and I'm just curious to see what he's gonna buy, what the rumors are gonna be, and it all depends on how we end the season, Champions League, all the cups, and the Premier League. But I'm expecting a busy window in the summer, and like you guys said, it's going to be a slot team. It's not going to be the Jurgen Klopp team anymore. It's going to be transitioning into that slot team. So I'm excited to see what's going to be happening in the summer. But it's been a cold window for us this winter, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, luckily you haven't had to have.
Yeah, they
haven't
don't
had
need
to
anything at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's why there's no need
Save
to
the
have
money.
coverage. Yeah, exactly. Save the
Yeah.
money, and with whatever cup runs how far we get into, if we win and all that stuff, that's more money for us to use into that. But I think that's a smart idea. Is don't buy anything now. Save it for the summer. You're doing well with what we have. Just keep it going.
Can we all agree that Aston Villa is the January transfer window champions?
Yeah, it's either between. I mean, gee, who else is it? Manchester City or Villa? But I think Villa has made up with the Duran sale. They were able to
77.
recuperate for like what 25 mil. They're a loan for Asensio, right? I believe that's from
Yep.
PSG, and then
Previously Real Madrid.
yeah, and then I think they got oh no, João Felix went to. They were looking for João Felix, but he went to Milan instead. But
They
they,
got
I think,
Rashford
yeah, but
and
yeah,
Disasi
Rashford on loan.
from Chelsea.
Can't wait to see what Emre does with that team with those players. I think he's trying to make sure he gets into the top 4, and I feel like with these players, if everything works out, they should manage to do that. And it's also for the Champions League as well to help them out with that, since they're qualified into the next round.
Yep. Aside from that, the other team with all the big moves was Manchester City, who actually spent more this window than all the other teams combined. They had 4 transfers in total. Marmoush, Ba, they had Rice, Kusanov. They just blew it out of the water. No limits on their wallet. So that's why, again, no pity for them. No pity for them. We'll see what they do in the summer now that they spent all this money in January.
Yeah, I think they got to go for a midfield. Their midfield is aging. They have to get everyone's over 30 besides Rodri. Kevin De Bruyne is not the same. He's coming off the bench now. You got to find a proper replacement.
The other big one, one that we've mentioned a couple of times, Evan Ferguson gets a loan now to West Ham from Brighton, where he wasn't getting that many minutes. Surprising though, because I think Alan mentioned before he had such a good season. I think it was last season. This season he's been not been able to show that same quality, but now he gets another chance in different colors.
Then he gets to go back with Potters, who's someone he's familiar with, who he actually excelled with. So maybe it's a nice, it's a new fresh start with someone he's familiar with, who can bring it out again.
Wasn't that who he played really good with?
Yeah, with yes, Brighton.
And they also recalled James Ward-Prowse back from Nottingham Forest loan. So get ready for the free kicks.
I was gonna say, just seeing City do all this business, it's a little upsetting. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, because they don't have a limit. They don't.
And
that's why I said no pity.
And they
have all this controversy around them, and yet they're like,
as soon as
in the closet, they don't even care about it. They're like, forget about it. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens with those charges.
Yeah, and to me, it's like as soon as it was like, oh, they're only gonna have to pay fines. So you're saying all their problems go away with spending money. So what they do, they turn around and spend more money into January. They spend like 150 million.
Everton didn't get just fines; they got deducted, and that was for what? I forgot, like 10 charges or something. And yet, if Everton, a team like that, gets 10-point deductions for what? A mere fraction, like 1% of what Manchester City is doing, charges against them, then what's the point? Okay, they get a fines, but Everton, who did way less than what Manchester City did, gets 10 points deduction. It doesn't fit the crime. The punishment doesn't fit the crime.
And remember when Chelsea was punished, they didn't lose points, but they were blocked. I think from 2 to 3 years, they couldn't do any transfers.
Yeah,
they could only do transfers of what's internally owed to them. So they were having to recall players that were on loan. So even that would be a bigger punishment than a fine. I mean, they get to pocket any money that they're not spending, but at the same time, they can't just grab whoever the heck they want.
Yep.
But when you see the benchmark of what the punishment was for Everton, you honestly thinking
Oh yeah.
Manchester City has got it 100 times worse than that. If they got 10-point deduction, what are these guys going to get? They're going to get like 100 points. They're going to go all the way down to the second division or whatever, transfer ban, all these things. You're thinking the worst because Everton got it. And it's like
It's just not fair, like you said, for
Yeah.
Everton. They're building a new stadium and then they're trying to stay afloat, and they're suffering from that. They're suffering from having overspent, not anywhere near what Manchester City has done. Forest, same thing. They had to buy a bunch of players and they suffered. And Newcastle is staying within their spending limits and they're suffering. They aren't able to compete as well as they want to be. You know what I mean? They want it to be a Champions League team. Within those top 4 spots continuously, and they can hardly get it done because they're so bound by that, financial limit. And how is that fair to all these teams who are trying to do it the right way? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you give Haaland that 9-year contract.
Yeah.
It's just, where are you guys getting this money from? And then you go ahead and spend that much more on 4 new players.
I think giving them that contract just shows you that they are very clear that they are going to be okay.
Yep, exactly.
I hope.
Exactly.
I just wonder what the
You're a
verdict
25-year-old, one of the best strikers in the world, and Manchester City is in this position where they could get deducted enough points. If you're gonna, like you said, compare it to the Everton deduction, compare that to the amount of counts that City have against them. You as a 25-year-old best striker in the world, not in the best team in the world, because you got teams like Real Madrid and Barcelona and all these other teams. Like, you got to think about your future. So you have to be super, super sure that you're going to be okay. You know what I mean? So that just goes to show that they know that they're going to bypass all these things.
Yep.
I hope it's not true, but we have to wait and see. Sometimes we've seen worse calls, worse verdicts and stuff like that. So it's just hoping that the right thing is done. Because if they don't pay fines, guess what Everton's going to be doing? They're going to probably sue them or whatever it is. It's like, how this doesn't make sense. And then you're going to have the whole backing. I mean, not the whole backing, but you're going to have some backing because I guess teams are going to be, they're not going to be in agreement with this, but
yeah,
we'll see what happens. That's another story once the verdict comes out.
If it comes out.
That'll be maybe next season talk or something, but we'll see.
All right. You guys ready to close it out?
Yeah. all I gotta say is I'm excited for our transfers. Ready to see them play. I'm ready to see them beat Liverpool.
When is that game?
On Thursday.
Oh,
hopefully Mateus is a good player, but only time will tell.
Yep.
You didn't get.
Yeah, we'll see. Current schedule: FA Cups. Then you got midweek game for Liverpool, and then
you didn't get my joke.
I should give my prediction for, I believe, so we can jot it. Oh no, it's for next week's episode.
Yeah,
next week's episode. Yeah.
You still didn't get my joke.
What was the joke?
I have to explain it. It's not going to be funny.
We didn't even hear it the first time. Because your volume is low.
I said, I hope Mateus is a good player, but I guess only time will tell.
Pat, do your drum thing.
Whatever.
Cut it out of the.
Well, if you guys are paying attention the first time.
Well, that's an episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed following us today. Follow us on Instagram at Rivals on the Pitch. Make sure you give us a like and follow. Hit us up on Spotify. That's all we have for today. Next week, we'll get into match week 25. We'll go over the Liverpool-Everton game and the rest of the week. All right, guys. I'm Randy.
I'm Pat.
And I'm Alan.
Bye.
Come on, you Spurs.
Ooh. Bye.